Greetings, Taurus. Here are your October horoscopes. Taurus, after September's emotional ass roller coaster, October is your chance to actually get some stability, or at least pretend, or convince yourself to pretend. So on the 6th of October, Mercury is entering into your seventh house of relationships, of partnerships, contracts, and these one on one dynamics that mean something to us, like marriages and, excuse me, or even like legal attachments. So Mercury and Scorpio in your seventh house natally, this can bring a focus to like negotiating, right? There's debating, there is seeking clarity through these commitments that we find ourselves in. And this is a time where your partner's words, they really weigh heavily upon you. And when you can notice the annoyances, or even how people communicate with you. You really start to dig deep into the word style that they use, what they say, the manipulation tactics, like what are they actually saying to you? Like you really see beyond just the voice. You're now seeing into, you're hearing like the vocal vibrations, Taurus, if that makes sense. You can have been avoiding these certain discussions or these certain conversations when it comes to unionship or relationships. But Mercury in Scorpio really pushes for the truth, Taurus. And it's really a great time for couples counseling if you need to. It's a great time for renegotiating contracts or sorting through these agreements that you have with other people. And definitely watch out for these being overly suspicious of communication as well, because Mercury definitely cuts deep and, really questions everything. It becomes this investigator, like, what are you actually saying to me type of vibration when we're talking about Mercury vibrating through the sign of um Scorpio. It's really trying to get to the bottom of something, so everything becomes a question. You research into everything. So definitely be careful with that. But this is a good time to get to what's hidden, Taurus, and I think that's really important when Mercury is in your seventh house. So on October 7th, you're gonna have the full moon in Aquarius in your natal 12th house. Yay! So, in the 12th house, it deals with our subconscious, with endings, our past lives, our hidden natures, even closure, shows up in the 12th house of our unconscious, of our subconscious. And this is an intense spiritual lunation. Obviously, it's in what is it? It's in Aries, and there can be these sudden reveals that have to do with solitude. Well, that makes you want to that makes you want to spend time in isolation or solitude or healing. There is a release, and since the sun is in your sixth house, which is opposite the 12th, this is a time for balance. This is a time for resetting. This is a time for rest, work, self care. And you're really trying to close out these habits or shift these habits that suddenly they don't work for you. Or even the habits that bring up these fears or hidden fears or these subconscious patterns or really the habits that drain you. That's the best way to say it, towards they really come to light. And you can expect these revelations around what that is in your dreams, in your intuition. You're really having these one-on-one hit back, what do you call them, like not back in conversations, but conversations that you can only have in your inner world that other people are not really involved in. Like you have to be alone, and moments of clarity definitely come to you towards when you're alone, because this is a powerful time for you to like release these old energies and these energies of like self-sabotage. And the 12th house really has to do with ourself, our inner world, what we like pump up into our subconscious mind, or even what we record. And sometimes when we record things that are very toxic and very silly, and it does affect our health, and so we have to re-examine those things and have enough courage to bring them to the forefront and get rid of them. And so this is why I say whoop-de-doo, because these are habits that force you into isolation, but also force you into a healing, into a release. And so Venus, your ruler, on the 13th of October, Taurus, this is your natal sixth house. And so, as I said, you know, the 12th house and the sixth house, they're obviously opposite each other, but the sixth house talks about our health, about our day-to-day routines, about service. So things feel much lighter when your ruler is in the sixth house, and you can experience maybe more pleasant relationships with those that you serve, or like your coworkers, or even with daily interactions with others. There can be a little heighten of fairness, a little heighten of feeling like everything is in unity, or feeling like everything is being brought together. Even when it comes to like bringing harmony in your daily self-care routine, you can feel like, hey, maybe I should adopt a new wellness ritual, something that can help me practice beauty, or can help me you know change my lifestyle, or shift the way that I'm eating, or whatever makes me feel good, rather than it being this restrictive thing where it's like, oh, I have to do this in order to get results. If you've been feeling stressed about something, stressed about work, stressed about what you're doing on a daily, if it's good enough, if it's not good enough, if you've been stressing about your worth, Taurus, this is a time where Venus is going to soften these day-to-day activities, the schedules that we find ourselves in, or even the daily interactions. Like, there's Venus is trying to help you feel more supportive. You can attract even more income when you're willing to serve from a more realistic type of standpoint, because Venus is all about radiance and beauty and love, but we don't always feel this way. Like, there's certain things that happen on a day-to-day basis where we question, like, what the hell just happened, and why are these people around me, and why do I do this every day? But Venus is trying to bring in this joy, this sense of joy, or these relationships that we have to other things, like our pets and our health, that can bring us happiness. But sometimes those things are very temporary, and so she's just trying to attract more wealth in how you feel about yourself on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's really, really important. On October 14th, Pluto is going to go direct into Aquarius in your natal 10th house. And so let me just check something really quick, Taurus. And Pluto is at its early degree, Taurus, so I'm not, of course you definitely feel this if you have early degrees, or early planets, or points, or these calculations at an earlier degree of Pluto, or even if you have planets that are in the 10th house, you feel this, of course, drastically. But as Pluto has been in retrograde, this becomes very major, because Pluto is stationing direct. Any planet that is moving backwards, or we feel that's just, making us go over things, it has a slower motion. And so when Pluto goes direct in the house of like your reputation, and the house of like this public life, or your pursuit to life, there can be big transformations that happen. There can be power struggles that come to light. And these things are not hidden in the 10th house. They are well known in our path. They start to really push us forward, even if we feel like we've been at a pause. So you can feel as though you're stepping into, or you feel like you need to step into this greater influence of having authority in this world, or taking the next step forward towards your legacy. But these do not come without challenges, because Pluto in the 10th house, like, you have to really dig deep. Like, people will see you, or even whatever you decide to do, it will be noticed too. You're not the same as you were 10 years ago. Like, you're not the same. You deeply are reshaping your entire sense of purpose, your entire sense of legacy. And even if for the last couple of months, when Pluto was in retrograde, you felt like you were in limbo when it comes to, where am I going in life? What am I actually doing? There can be some clarity that emerges. And remember, Pluto is going to be working in your natal 10th house for the next 13 to 14 years. and you're really being asked to claim authority. And that doesn't come with doing nothing. It comes with getting into the bottom of what you're actually here to do. And as I said, no, I mean, not as I said, I was actually just saying this, but Taurus, we better be here for a reason, right? Like it's 333. We better be here for a reason. Like there better be a reason why, you're in this reality. And of course there is. But when it's all said and done, like it better be shown to you. You know what I'm saying? Like there has to be a reason for your appearance and why you're in this world. And I do think that Pluto uncovers those things. It uncovers these certain truths that are really hard to wrap our mind around. When we have to give ourselves to other people, we have to give our vision to other people, and they see us transform. And people don't want to show the harsh things that they have to go through in life. But I feel like Pluto in your 10th house, of course, you're going to be shown how you actually liberate yourself and change your whole world and consciousness just from going through repeated transformations of the self, of the legacy, of the life path. You're claiming your authority in this world, which is extremely powerful. So powerful for you, Taurus, because this is true power. This is something that cannot be taken away from you, even when you have to dismantle these old structures that people have told you, or that have come from your family, that have come from where you have grow up from. Like people are watching this transform within you, and that's, as I said, it's just so powerful. But yes, you have many, many years to go through this. So I just want to say that true power will be coming from the Tauruses, and they'll be coming from, it will be coming where you are truly liberating yourself from things that you didn't think were possible. And so on October 20th, Mercury is going to conjunct Mars in Scorpio in your natal 7th house. And so Mars and Mercury fooling around in the 7th house of like your partnerships and fooling around with other people and like mirrors. These are bold conversations, obviously, but these are conversations that can turn into arguments. These can be passionate discussions that you have with a partner, a business partner, or even enemies, even like just arguments sometimes. And your words can come out very sharp, and there can be truths that are long buried that really come to the surface for you, Taurus. And while this is a time where you can experience heated arguments, it's always a chance to cut through this, like this veil, or this veil that people have, or that, how people like lie, like Mercury and Scorpio, Mars and Scorpio is like, you're not gonna lie to me, like why are you always lying? It's confronting that. Like there's like a sense of urgency to confront that, and you have to be brutally honest about it. And so in contract and negotiation, you can feel urged to be brutally honest, or that you have something urgent to talk about. It can feel very confrontational. And I think the best way, or the most constructive way to use this energy, is to take action in your partnerships, Taurus, and like strategize, like problem solve, and maybe even like maybe if you can, tackle issues together. But if you can't, try to avoid coming off way too like sharp or harsh. There could be things that are really long buried coming to the surface with that conjunction. So on October 21st, the new moon in Libra is going to happen in your natal 6th house. The new moon in Libra in your 6th, this is a reset or a call or pull to focus on your routines and your health. There can be, like, if you felt like overwhelmed, if you felt like you needed to plant seeds in order to achieve a better life and habit balance, even a work-life balance, this is the time to start, taking on a new wellness routine and reorganize your schedule. You need to find a new way to manage your responsibilities or your day-to-day activities. And since Libra, it rules like balance and fairness, this lunation is going to ask you, how can you work with others, right? Because this house is working with others, enemies, illnesses, and things of that nature. and how can you service others as well and yourself with this sense in art of flow and harmony and like self-care. So this can be an exciting time with the new moon to improve your certain relationships with the things that you do on a daily basis. Starting new projects that require you to feel steady or even to have this balanced effort. So, like, let's say if you're putting in a new wellness routine, this is the time that it actually flows a little bit better and it feels as though like I can do this. Like this can happen. So yeah, Taurus, and then on October 22nd, Neptune is going to be leaving Aries, and this is your natal 12th house. It's going to retrograde back into Pisces in your natal 11th house. And so Neptune was briefly testing your boundaries. And honestly, when Neptune is in the 12th house, it wants to dissolve, even in any house, but it wants to dissolve these boundaries or these self-sabotaging habits and get you to really look at your subconscious. Neptune talks about your spiritual life or your hidden, fears. And as it retrogrades back into Pisces in your 11th, you have to really break or see through the veil or really cut through, really dig deep into the ethers, Taurus, when it comes to like your friendships and community. You could have felt shifts in how you connect to your community, how you connect to groups, your dreams, and even visions. And this is these in the 11th house, having like spiritual connection to friends or returning to the collective like vision or collective awareness, because the 11th house is a house of like cosmic and collective consciousness, and you are now gaining clarity around who belongs in your circle, who belongs and really sees this long-term vision. And you must release an old illusion about, a cause, even a group, or the people that you surround yourself with, and make space for these connected alignments that really shape and really honor your higher purpose. On October 23rd, the sun is going to enter into your 7th house as well in Scorpio. And your relationships, even your partnerships, this is really just a house of like other people that we, I guess, that holds value in our life, but they really take the center stage, even with the conjunction earlier in the month. But now the sun, which is a very powerful energy, is coming into here, the house of contracts and things of that nature. And it really shines this spotlight on collaboration, compromise, balance, and you feel drawn to strengthening your bonds or examining how power plays come into your like partnerships. This is really a great time to give it more energy, give your relationships more energy, your partnerships more energy, and ones that matter, let's just say that, right? And ones that do not no longer align with you, it's time for you to shed those, Taurus. And then also on the 23rd, Mercury is going to conjunct Lilith in Scorpio in the 7th house. And no, I mean, I'm saying no before I even start saying what that means, but it's like, whoa, Lilith in Scorpio is not going to be silenced, especially by others. She's very much like, I'm going to say what I need to say. Mercury is definitely, giving her the free mind and the capacity to do so. So if you have been silencing yourself, Taurus, in order to keep the peace, in order to keep things flowing, it's not going to work anymore. Like this is an aspect that is going to force the truth, force you to speak your words out, even though these words may carry this rebellious or shadow tone to it. These are topics around desire, around freedom, around these suppressed feelings that you can have. So they're really going to take surface. So, relationships can really reveal to you the dynamics that were hidden, or this can be a chance to reclaim your voice in partnerships if it's been feeling uncomfortable, if you've been feeling, like you are not being heard. You're definitely going to feel like you must be heard, Taurus. On September, not September, because we're in October, Cody. Okay, so October 26th. Now, Mars is going to conjunct Lilith in Scorpio in the seventh house. Wow. Lilith brings this shadow type rebellion, but tries to really underline it with empowerment, and Mars is like, Mars is bringing its own action, passion element, this explosive dynamic. So be very mindful about partnerships. This can feel very intense. And I feel like these energies working together can stir dynamics with partners. But it can also be incredibly passionate. You can have breakthroughs if it's channeled correctly. If there have been power struggles that do exist, these will no longer be ignored anymore. And this can also be a time where partners or relationships or anything that has to do with other people is more chaotic, it's more magnetic, it's more transformative, it's a little bit erotic as well. I think that the test here with all of these conjunctions in your seventh house is how are you going to honor your own power without trying to dominate, or submit to someone else's idea of you or of where your life should go or where you should be headed. But truly, like, there's a lot of power plays and at the forefront. You have to be very conscious of the conversations you're having, what's being said, that's not being said, and actually really listen, because Mercury is going to be in the seventh house as well. You want to listen, you want to pay attention to dialogue. Even with Mercury and Lilith, Mars and them and them, but they're like diving deep into the next person, other people, what they say, how they say it. You really want to take a step back and really understand that not everything is as it meets the eye. You could be hearing and seeing things that are a part of your shadows, that are part of your trauma, and projecting it onto the next person as well, or they can be projecting onto you. Really just pay attention and listen, and try not to take definitely take action, but try not to take aggressive action in order to get your point across. Try to have that conversation, but also do not let anyone take your power away from you. You can say what you need to say, and you have the power to do whatever you need to do. So on October 29, Mercury is going to enter into Sagittarius. Okay, Mercury is coming from the 7th, so Mercury is shifting your focus to the 8th house of resources, transformation, psychology. And of course, this is Scorpio's natural house. But for you, it's your natal Sagittarius house. So your mind go towards like these deeper matters, about even existential, how we exist on this plane. Sometimes I'm like fumbling over words, but really, what do you exist for? Getting down to the bottom of, conversations about that, or getting down to the nitty gritty. And like I said, not seeing what we just see on the surface, but getting to these like psychological patterns. What is the deal behind those? Even financial agreements, even intimacy dynamics as well. There can be conversations about money, sexuality, even power. Like, it becomes more open, more expansive. And this is an exciting time for like research, to dive into therapy, or even like deep talks that really uncover the truth. Mercury in like Sagittarius definitely brings optimism. So even if the heavy topics, even if they feel very heavy, in the 8th houses can feel lighter. It can feel like the solutions to solving these psychological manipulation tendencies, sexual trauma, all of these deep things, they become like, solutions become more visible. Like, it becomes like it can reshape, it can shift in some type of way. And I think that relationships and purpose are here this month to reshape this deep level of yourself, maybe a self that you didn't know, Taurus, and that you're going to get to know, but it's definitely raw. You're definitely going to feel cracked open, maybe by other people, maybe by a conversation or just something that definitely feels like it has to happen, Taurus. So yes, that's all I have for you. I hope that was helpful. Definitely like, subscribe, please, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, Taurus.